tangled up in the traffic outside and you weren't able to sign in this evening when you came through, be it that you came through that door, or maybe even that door, please, at the end of this evening when you leave by the main reception, just so you can actually sign in. Because Mr. Powell will be going through this at the end of the evening, identifying any students that didn't attend. So, over to me now then. As you know, my name is Mr. Baker, I'm the Deputy Head Teacher here. I'm going to now take you through the process of the options available to you and how you can go about finding out as much information as you possibly can in order to make those choices by midnight on the 8th of March. So, the first thing that I'm going to say to you is this. All of the process and all of the information is contained within this electronic booklet. And this booklet is available online right now on our website. It is also going to be emailed to you tomorrow along with a copy of this presentation. There are a couple of hyperlinks in this presentation, and please don't feel the need to write copious notes as you're sitting there this afternoon. This will be sent to you tomorrow. So I repeat, all the information that hopefully you need is included in this information booklet, this curriculum booklet that will be emailed to you tomorrow and is available on our website as we speak. In terms of the booklet, this is the real value that it brings, is that every subject, including the compulsory subjects such as English language and English literature, has its own subject page. And on these subject pages, and whilst I appreciate that you can't quite read the font from where you are seated, on the page it does provide you with information about the course. It provides you with information on how it is assessed, on the course content, and then very specifically about the potential future career progression as well. But very importantly are these QR codes that you can see on each of the pages. Those QR codes, once you scan them, they will take you to a subject video whereby the heads of department have recorded a subject video for you students and you parents to watch and obviously gather more and more information, okay, for you to make informed decisions about your choices. Please make sure you watch all of the videos, especially those ones that you want to select. Also, for those subject videos, it's not reliant solely upon your ability to scan QR code. Included within the booklet on the second page, and this is another benefit to it being an electronic booklet, all of the URL codes are all lined up there for you. So again, you can simply open the electronic booklet when you get home this evening, and you can simply click on one of those links and it will take you to one of those subject videos. More information is also found on our website, as I mentioned a moment ago. Our curriculum, you can see there from when I took the screenshot last week in preparation for this evening. I've noted there that that was 2023. That has all now been updated with our 24 curriculum. So again, feel free to click on that and that will take you through it, provide you with the same information, just obviously slightly laid out differently there. But all of the videos are again accessible via our curriculum overview link. Next up, and that's in terms of the choices. I'm going to zoom in on a couple of these pages in a minute, so please don't worry if you can't quite see those choices at the back. The exciting bit then is the GCSE curriculum that your child will follow and students that you will follow is outlined here on page 4 of the booklet. You can see it's mapped out down the right-hand side and it's listed on the left as you view it. Students will study 9 GCSE subjects, achieving either 10 or 11 GCSEs, depending on whether they choose combined or triple science. In addition to this, students will also study core PE, because we want to obviously continue to keep them active and healthy, and they will also continue with the life programme during their term times and drop-down sessions. So, in terms of the compulsory subjects, all students will study English language, English literature, maths, RS, and science. In terms of then the 5 choices that students you will need to make. Firstly, you will need to make your decision about which science you take. So is it that you take triple and achieve 3 GCSEs, but there's a lot more content to learn during the same length of time, or is it that you wish to study combined science? There's a lot more information in the booklet and also on the video that contains information related to if you were to go on to study this at A level, do you need triple science, etc. It's all covered there for you. Please note, however, the majority of our students now study triple science. Next up is the humanities choice that students will need to make. Would they like to study geography or would they like to study history? And then it's over to the modern foreign language choice. Would they like to study either French or Spanish? And then very finally is that of the 2 open choices that students get to make. Students can, should they wish, include the other humanities subjects or the other MFL as part of their open choices. For example, if a student wanted to be a dual linguist, they wanted to study both French and Spanish, they can choose the other language as their option here, but it's up to you. The point that I'm going to stress at this point, and I'm going to stress it again before I get off the stage and hand you back to Mr. Harrington, is this. And I'll talk more about it in a minute. But students, when you select your choices, you must select them in priority order, including your reserves. Okay, they must be in priority order. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. In terms of advice on making decisions, the booklet contains information related to this on 2 pages. Some information on page 5 and some information on page 7. Mr. Harrington has already introduced our quite exceptional careers leader, Mrs. Walker, who has, I'll give you that plug now, I know she's got 40 slots lined up for you students within the room over the next few weeks. If following this evening you would like to have a conversation with her about your next steps, and maybe you're not quite sure on the subjects that you're going to choose, Mrs. Walker will make herself available to you during form times and let you know how you can book one of those appointments. But what Mrs. Walker has produced for the booklet is her golden triangle. This is where students should ultimately, when they're trying to figure out which subject it is that they're going to choose, should do 3 things. Number 1, should see that their choice matches their skills. For example, if any of you sitting in the room here are county athletes perhaps, then it might be a case that you might go on to choose GCSE PE. Or perhaps if you're a performer in youth theatre productions, then perhaps drama is the subject for you. Again, relate them back to your skills. The next thing that Mrs. Walker advises you to consider, and this is arguably the most important for many of you, are the subjects that you are most passionate about, the subjects that you really do love and that you really do enjoy. And then finally, and this is where this will challenge you, and this is where I will say to you, all of you in the room, please take your time before you submit your choices, is that I really want you to consider your next steps after GCSE and to make sure that the choices that you make now potentially link to your chosen career path. As Mr. Harrington mentioned a moment ago, that's very, very difficult at the age of 13, 14, let alone 16. However, many of you will have an inkling in terms of a career path that you may wish to pursue, and you don't want to close any of those doors at this stage. Now, to help you with this, it's at this point that when I send out the PowerPoint presentation tomorrow, that you'll be able to click on that hyperlink on the left-hand side. That will take you directly through to the WG6 curriculum booklet. And whilst I appreciate that, yes, of course, we're focusing on the Year 10 options curriculum booklet here, you may wish to cast your eye looking ahead to in a couple of years, of which you will see listed out on page 2 of the WG6 curriculum booklet. So in 2 years' time, students, this is when you'll be actively looking at this. You will see all of the subjects that are currently offered and the subject entry requirements that are currently in place. Now I say currently because the disclaimer here is that these are obviously subject and they may change within the next 2 years, but this is what they currently are. For example, if a student in the room may wish to take art at A level, then they need to have achieved a minimum grade 6 in Fine Art GCSE. So again, that's just to draw your attention to the next steps and the choices again that you may not only make this year, but also thinking ahead to in a couple of years' time. And I must say, the SLT here at the school have just actually concluded our next steps meetings with our current Year 11 students. And following on from the fine work of Mrs. Walker and the LIFE programme, the majority of students are absolutely set in terms of what they want to do for their next steps because they've been so well informed. Why? Because we started the journey for them today when they were in Year 9. Additional information about making your choices and additional advice does exist here on page 7 as well. And on this page 7, there is some information related to the timeline of events here. And I've tried to keep this as minimalistic as I possibly could. So, for example, in 2 weeks' time, you will have your online parents' evening. And that will be an opportunity for parents and students for you to ask the teacher about the suitability of your child studying that subject at GCSE and to obviously gain that feedback. So again, please do some work in terms of looking at the curriculum booklet before you head into that parents' evening. And then it's at that point, after the parents' evening, that we deliberately give you 1 calendar month to be able to then consider the choices, okay, and to gather as much information as you possibly can at this time. Please wait until you have exhausted all of the information and that you've evaluated your own skills, students, and you've really thought about the subjects that you love. Because there are no prizes for being the first person that submits that form on the 9th of February. You will not get any priority over anyone else, okay? So please just remember that. And I'll come back to the point again. When you do click on the Microsoft form, that is in the booklet on page 7, and I've highlighted it there in blue. That's how you would submit your choices, and your parents need to submit the choices on your behalf. You will need to make sure that they are the choices that you want to make, and that you're not going to feel that you need to send me an email 2 days later and say, look, sir, I'm really sorry, but can I change that subject? Okay, that's absolutely what we want to avoid. So in terms of the Microsoft form, you will note, for those of you maybe sitting in the front row and that can see this font on here, that again you can see it in greater detail when I send this out tomorrow, that it says up there, reserve open choice 1. Please choose your first reserve preference. This will be allocated if either open choice 1 or 2 cannot be allocated. And again, there are all the open choices available to you there. The point that I would like to stress here is this. Please select your first reserve as this open choice 1. Okay? So for example, if we are unable to provide you with your first or your second open choice, we will then look to this choice as the first reserve. That is really important that you put this one first ahead of the open choice 2, for example. Okay? The other thing here to say is this. We're quite unique as a school, and actually what we do is we actually build a bespoke curriculum around the demands of the students within this room. That's why you haven't come in here this evening and we've said that there are several restrictions and you must only select these options from these 2 blocks, for example. We will build these dependent upon the demand that there is in this room. And for example, over the last few years, we saw a significant increase in finance. So therefore, we needed to upskill some of our current teachers to make sure that they could then go ahead and teach GCSE finance or recruit new members of staff to come into the school. I said GCSE finance, I'll just correct myself. GCSE business studies. The pathway there is finance, Key Stage 3, and then on to GCSE Business at Key Stage 4. I won't give that any more of a plug though. In terms of finishing off, before I hand you over to, back to Mr. Harrington, it takes us time to build that curriculum, and we do truly need that time. So students, I'm aiming this message at you mostly. When you see me in the playground during term 5 and you say to me, "Sir, have you sorted my options yet?" The answer is simple, the answer is no. The reason being, we will take our time to make sure that the curriculum that we write to you with, or the options that we write to you with, in term 6, that's normally at the start of July, are the absolute ones that we can commit to. So please give us that time and we will build you a curriculum that will take you on to your next steps. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you do wish to catch up at the end, I will be about for a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Baker. We certainly don't need any more of a plug for GCSE Business. We've got 120 students studying GCSE Business currently in Year 10. And when Mr. Baker said they're attempting to upskill some staff, I think he means it's because I'm teaching Year 8 finance this year. I don't know with how much success, but I guess we'll find out in a couple of years. I think it's probably pertinent. It is my job. Don't panic. It is my job to say this. Teacher recruitment at the moment is very, very difficult, as you'll know. And we do build a bespoke curriculum. The perfect example actually being, and in the current Year 11, we've got one computer science class. 3 times as many students chose computer science last year. We've got 3 computer science classes, 3 very big computer science classes in Year 10 this year. But that does have to stop somewhere. Recruitment, particularly for subjects like computer science, for languages, for physics and maths, is tricky at the moment. So there will be perhaps some teachers in the room, or perhaps some people that know some teachers in the room, and we'd always be willing and ready to have a conversation if this is the kind of school you wanted to work at. Couldn't avoid that opportunity to ask that many people in one go if they're interested in working here. And similarly, there's always non-teaching roles available as well. So if you've enjoyed your interrelationship with the school to this point, there's always non-teaching roles available as well. I think I just actually reflect on a couple of the things that Mr. Baker said. When you were in Year 7, students, we introduced for the first time drama. Some of you were unfortunate, and most of you actually were unfortunate enough to have me as your drama teacher for that Year 7. And actually since then we've recruited a wonderful head of performing arts in Miss Hollidge, who delivered an assembly this morning. I anticipate that there will be healthy numbers in the GCSE drama class, and that's the first time this school's had GCSE drama in an awfully long time. There were 30-odd students going off to see Hamilton on Thursday this week. Again, endorsement of the kind of cultural enrichment that we're committing to. Similarly, just to endorse what Mr. Baker said about science and not closing any doors. Very many students in here will be interested, even if they're not now, but in the future, in pursuing a science at A-level. Ultimately, you're more well prepared for all that science at A-level if you've studied the triple science route, which is chemistry, biology and physics studied separately, not combined. But the combined route may well be the correct route for some students here. The percentages we're working on, about 80% of students will go on the triple science route, 20% on the combined science, because their skill set, their interests lay elsewhere, and that's absolutely fine. I just want to really once again say thank you to the form tutors who are going to be around just for a few minutes at the end to chat with you. You know, they've heard everything that I've said and that Mr. Baker said, and they'll be more than ready to have conversations at an individual level with you. But I'm going to finish with this. I believe that this group of students will get the best results this school has ever seen when they get to GCSE. But for me, that is secondary. For me, it is in the individual success stories that I see emerging day after day as your children grow into fine, upstanding representatives of this school and their local community that gives us as a school our greatest joy and greatest pleasure. So although this evening we've been talking about options, it's actually just been really good to connect face to face with you again this evening. I know that the parents' evening is done remotely, and hopefully you understand, we are just trying to balance the face-to-face with the remote. It's nice that you've been able to feel the benefit of the newly installed, very expensive heating system that the school's got. So it's nice, that we've been able to sit here in the relative warm this evening. But let's just finish on this. Thanks very much for coming along this evening. It's only when parents and guardians and carers work in collaboration with their sons, the students of this school, and us as a school in another golden triangle to pinch Mrs Walker's analogy there, that true success is achieved. And I believe that's what we've built the foundations for this evening. Thank you very much. We can exit out of these doors, or indeed out of these doors. Safe journey home, and I'll see you all again soon.